We are now on Visual Studio to put into practice the notion of for and for each loops. Let's start with the for loop. The difference between the for loop and the while loop is that for the while loop, we will initialize a variable before the loop and increment the variable that allows the loop to run in the braces when we will put everything in the parentheses of the for loop. Here, to create the for loop, I'm going to delete all of this and type for. Then I will create a variable in brackets by giving its type, int. I will then name it counter and initialize it to 0. I will then add a semicolon. Let's now move on to the condition. I will use the same as the while condition as long as the counter is less than the total number of values in the array. Then loop. So counter less than tab underscore last name dot length, then add a semicolon. Then I will go to the increment. I will type counter plus plus. As you can see, the while loop and for loop will differ regarding the writing. We might use the while loop more often in certain cases. To continue, we will open the braces like we did for the while loop and put our instructions here. Here it was to display the values of our array, so we will type console.writeLine and put in brackets of our array with the index in brackets using the variable counter to browse the array. And if we run the program, we will have the same result as the while loop. This time, with the for loop, we have a clearer and easier code. And we have less risk of falling into an infinite loop since we have to increment the counter in the parentheses. Now let's move on to the for each loop, which is a bit different. It will not work with an index system in the same way as the for loop and the while loop. It is written in this way: for each parenthesis, then we will create the same type of things, variable, but we want to return our first names, so we will put a string, then name it a first name, for example, add in which means in what we want to loop, and here it is in the array. So just fill in our array tab, underscore first name. We will open the braces and add the console.writeLine function, except that here in the parentheses, we will not put our array, but the first name variable. Basically, the loop will loop on each element of the array, and at every turn of the loop, the first name variable will be affected by the element of the loop. Basically, at turn 1, the first name will take the first value of the array. In turn 2, it will take the second value, etc. So given that the variable first name is equivalent to our value of the array in every turn, then it is what we will put in the parentheses. And if we launch the program, we can see that we have all our names that are displayed. That's it for this video. All these concepts of loops are easy to understand. If you didn't understand some points, do not hesitate to rewatch the videos about loops. And in the next video, I will give you an exercise to do in order to strengthen and master this notion of loops perfectly. I hope you enjoyed this video and my explanations were clear.